Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles and on this episode we're doing a top 10. Topic of the top 10? Top 10 resolutions for 2024. As I'm recording this video, it is January 1st, 2024. Happy New Year. There's at least one of these things that might potentially happen on Monday Night Raw tonight, so some of this might already be dated by the time you watch this. But basically what this is I've taken 10 different wrestlers or wrestling companies, and I've came up with a resolution for each of them. This isn't necessarily going to be like a 1 in 10 like normally, where number 1 is the highest ranked. It's more of 10 things, basically. Yes, some of them I would like to see more than others, which is kind of why I ranked them the way I did, but it's all things I would enjoy. If I get 4 of these, I'm very happy. With that being said, starting off at number 10, it's time for the Bullet Club to end. I know, it pains me to say it. I was a person that was all in on the Bullet Club. The Devitt era, the AJ Styles era, the Kenny Omega era, the Jay White era. However, Bullet Club isn't Bullet Club anymore. And that's not to say that there's not talented people in Bullet Club now. There definitely is. First off, the name doesn't hold the same cachet it did even 2-3 years ago. There's been so much turnaround where it's barely recognizable to what it used to be. The other thing, in my opinion, is the cow's been milked dry. I mean, New Japan has milked it, AEW has milked it, TNA has milked it, WWE has milked it as much as they can without actually having Bullet Club on their show, and it's been over a decade now. And again, I'm a huge Bullet Club guy. I probably got 20 different Bullet Club shirts with different members and just logos. I have Bullet Club stickers on at least 15 different things. I have a Bullet Club jacket, a Bullet Club backpack. But to me, it's ran its course. Much like the NWO, you could still keep selling Bullet Club merchandise after Bullet Club is done. You could still have Bullet Club reunions 5 years down the road, but it's time to put it to bed. Time to end the Bullet Club. Going from that, number 9. This one's for Billy Corgan. Billy Corgan and the NWA need to make a major splash. Their announcement that they were working with the CW was huge. It felt like a big change. Now we're going to have another wrestling company on a major platform for everybody to watch. Unfortunately, the events at the, and I know I'm going to pronounce this wrong, the Sam Hain pay-per-view, and I say that because the Danzig band was always called Sam Hain. I think it's pronounced Samhain. I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, the events that happened at that pay-per-view reportedly soured CW to the point where NWA is just on their streaming platform now. And they kind of took a hit from that. I feel like at times over the last 5-6 years, however long it's been that Billy has owned the company, I've been super hyped for a lot of things, and then the hype has been quelled pretty quickly. I loved that they brought back the Crockett Cup. I loved Power when it first started. It was really cool. I loved seeing Nick Aldis there. I loved seeing Camille there. And a lot of what was special is kind of gone now. I think they need to make a big splash. I don't necessarily think they need to sign a big name free agent as much as they need to set themselves different from the other companies. Maybe something like working with TNA, and I know there's bad blood there, or working with WWE, or even working with AEW as somewhat of a quasi minor league to them. A company like AEW has so many wrestlers that just aren't on television and aren't getting experience. Why not send some of them to the NWA? Why not let some of them wrestle for NWA? Gain that experience, and vice versa. NWA could send people to AEW and have a nice symbiotic relationship. When I listen to shoot interviews or older wrestlers that are being interviewed, they always talk about the way that they grew the most was going out there and wrestling, getting in front of fans. If you have a younger wrestler, let's say 20, 25, and they're wrestling 10 matches in a year, how do they grow? And I know AEW talent could do indies, but it's kind of not the same as putting them on a TV production. And that's why I think AEW, WWE even, TNA, I think they could all benefit from working with the NWA, and that's just one thing that he might be able to do to make a big splash. I think he needs it. I think he needs to give us something to believe in there. Make a big splash this year, Billy. I'll go from that on number 8. This one's for Alexander Hammerstone. Hammerstone, go to WWE. That should be your resolution. The one company that will treat you better than any company in the world, that'll promote you, that'll use you in the best way, is WWE. Now, you may have to go through NXT. You might think you're too good for that. Suck it up a bit. Do a year in NXT. Go to the main roster. Work your way up. Become a big star. Make a ton of money. And I know we're in a different era in WWE, and some of the old tropes aren't necessarily going to be carried over, like the big guy always getting that push. But if you think about it, it's still kind of happening there. Bigger wrestlers still have a leg up. Go there, make millions of dollars, become a huge star. Well, from that, our number 7. A guy that I think is on the precipice of being the biggest star in wrestling, or one of the biggest stars in wrestling. This resolution is for Swerve Strickland. It's something he just mentioned himself at the World's End press scrum. Get that championship, Swerve. Win the AEW World Championship. Keep growing your brand. Become what I know you can be. I know you can be the face of AEW. I know you could be one of the 2 or 3 biggest stars in all of wrestling. And if you play your cards right, AEW that is, not Swerve, because Swerve is doing absolutely everything the right way. If AEW plays their cards right, Swerve could be their version of like Sting, back when WCW had Sting to go against WWE, or Lex Luger, or Booker T, or any of the other great talent that seemingly wanted to stay in WCW forever. You have a guy like Swerve, and you could build him to be that guy, be that cornerstone. Him and MJF could be the Sting and Luger. They need to have those guys, where it's not just people that went through TNA, people you know that are ex-WWE guys. As of right now, they've only had 2 world champions that haven't made their name elsewhere, and you could argue that Hangman Page made his name in Bullet Club in Japan and in Ring of Honor before going there. But everybody else, Moxley was a WWE star, Joe was a WWE star, Jericho was a WWE star, Punk a WWE star, and I feel like I'm leaving somebody out here, but Hangman Page and MJF are the only 2 somewhat homegrown talents. Hangman was never as big as he was in AEW anywhere else. And yes, I know Swerve has the NXT ties and all of that, but Swerve, kind of like Hangman, he was never pushed to be a main guy. So this is your opportunity, AEW, to make that superstar. Swerve just needs to keep pushing on. That's his resolution for 2024. We'll go from that, our number 6. This one's for TNA Wrestling as a whole. We have their rebranding coming up at the Hard to Kill pay-per-view. Their resolution needs to be, they need to get as many people tied to the TNA brand on that pay-per-view any way they can. Whether that be Samoa Joe, whether that be AJ Styles, Jeff Jarrett. If you have to call in every favor you have to get these people there, to give that nostalgia rub to that company, the people that built it, Kurt Angle even, have them come in there, have them at least show their face. We've seen where WWE has at least been okay with sending videos. They did it for Hall of Fames and they did it for anniversaries. AJ Styles himself has sent videos. We've seen TNA and AEW have working relationships previously, so you definitely got to bring those people in. I think that nostalgia buzz would definitely help out the pay-per-view, help out the rebrand, set a new precedent going forward. We're going from that on number 5. This one's for Mercedes Moné, aka Sasha Banks. And the reason why I bring up the AKA, your resolution is to think long and hard about what you're choosing. And I mentioned this in the beginning when I said something could happen as early as Raw tonight at the time of this taping. They've announced that a former world champion would be there, which fits Sasha Banks, aka Mercedes, to a T. She is a former world champion. However, I think she really needs to look at, and this isn't a knock on AEW, this isn't a knock on New Japan, this isn't a knock on WWE. She really needs to weigh her options. Chances are, this is going to be her biggest contract she ever signs, wherever she signs it. And she has to look at this as her career-defining contract. This is like an NBA All-Star at the prime of their career getting a new contract. They have to maximize their potential. They have to maximize what they can make. Pro wrestling is a business where literally any time you step in the ring could be the last time, and I don't want to be morbid about that. We've seen accidents happen. We've seen people get career-ending injuries on somewhat routine-looking moves. So while she's there and while she's pretty much the hottest free agent there is, she needs to look at two things. First, she needs to get the generational money. She needs to have enough money where if everything ended today, she could retire and be comfortable for the rest of her life, which she could definitely get. She's definitely worth it. Second, if she's planning on the long term for Sasha/Mercedes' career, what company is going to use her better? And before everyone jumps and says WWE uses their women way better than AEW, I agree. You got to remember, the whole reason she's not in WWE now was her dissatisfaction with how she was being used in WWE previously. And I know I mentioned it a bit earlier as well with Hammerstone. It is a different regime, it is a different mind state, but these are things she has to weigh. So my resolution for, I'm going to call her Sasha because it's easier. My resolution for Sasha Banks: think long and hard, don't make a rash decision, really weigh out your options. We're going from that. Our number 4. This one is for CM Punk, a guy that pretty much you can't make a wrestling video without talking about because he's always in the zeitgeist. He's always towards the top of what everybody's talking about in pro wrestling. CM Punk has a drama-free 2024. That is his resolution. And what I mean by that is, I'm not talking about old drama coming back, like more details of Brawl In or Brawl Out coming out, or people trying to dig up old stuff in the past. I'm talking no new stuff. And that doesn't mean he has to like everybody he works with. That doesn't mean that he has to be cordial with everybody he works with. I don't want to hear stories all this year about CM Punk getting into fights with wrestlers. I'm done with that. I think we all are. And again, not a knock on CM Punk. None of us know the full story. We've heard what's been leaked, and most of us have taken sides on that. We don't know the full story. So he could be totally innocent, and he could have been totally attacked in these situations. For himself, for his well-being, for his mental mind state, my resolution for CM Punk: drama-free 2024. I'll go from that. Our number 3. This one is for New Japan Pro Wrestling / Hiroshi Tanahashi, the new president. Congratulations. Your resolution, and the thing you need to do more than anything else, do whatever you can to keep Kazuchika Okada in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Tanahashi and Okada are the people that brought New Japan out of its dark days, and it literally is an era in New Japan called the Dark Days. They're the ones that brought it back to prominence. They're the ones that brought it back to popularity. New Japan, out of every major wrestling promotion in the world, probably took the biggest hit because of the restrictions and the limitations in Japan. All of their momentum seemed to be quashed, seemed to be put to a halt. And now as they're slowly coming out of that, they're slowly coming back to normal. They have their biggest star, and arguably one of the biggest stars they've ever had, is on the precipice of needing a new contract. Now, whether that be with a New Japan, which I definitely think is where he should stay. He may want to try his hand in WWE or AEW, but I think they need to prioritize. Give Okada the biggest contract you've ever given. If he wants to have part ownership in the company, give him part ownership in the company. New Japan Pro Wrestling losing Kazuchika Okada would be akin to WWE losing Roman Reigns, would be like AEW losing John Moxley or MJF, one of their guys that is their top guy. I think he is so vital to their success, especially going forward, that I think that they absolutely can't afford to lose him. Do everything you can. That's my resolution for New Japan Pro Wrestling. We'll go from that on number 2. This resolution is for Triple H. Your resolution: stay the course. Don't change a damn thing. Since Triple H has had control of the creative of WWE, it has been the best that WWE has been in probably a decade, maybe even more. The stories are making sense. Everybody seems to have a purpose. New stars are being built. New feuds are being built. Championships that felt like throwaways, like the Intercontinental Championship, now have an importance because how Gunther was booked. Events like WrestleMania have multiple potential main events that no one would blink an eye at. I mean, even with it being 2 nights, there's people fighting for those spots on both nights. And just as easy as, let's say, CM Punk and Seth Rollins being a main event one night, you could easily have Becky Lynch versus Rhea Ripley as a main event. You could have The Rock versus Roman Reigns as a main event. You could have Cody Rhodes versus Roman, Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins. Now you got, even add to that, throwing Randy Orton into the mix. You have so many potential storylines that could be big stories, and it's all because of the guidance of Triple H and what he's done. Stay the course, don't change a thing. That is your resolution. Now, before we get into our number one, normally I do a thing here called the best of the rest, basically things that didn't make the top 10 but were considered for it. Like I said, this is more of 10 things, not necessarily a ranking. So these are other resolutions I thought of for the list. First up, we just talked about him. This resolution is for Gunther. Gunther needs to aim higher. And what I mean by that is Gunther needs to parlay his record-setting, record-smashing Intercontinental Championship run into a run with either the Undisputed Championship or the World Championship. I said this in my predictions video. I predict at some point this year, Gunther will be in a champion versus champion match to be a dual champion, at least temporarily, and I think he will win that. I think that needs to be his resolution too. I think he needs to get into the ear of Triple H and say, hey, I'm happy with what you've done with me. I'm happy being the Intercontinental Champion. I'm happy with the prestige I brought back to this championship, but I want more. I want to be the guy that main events WrestleMania. I want to be the guy on the poster for SummerSlam. I want to be the guy that is on the cover of the video game. And to do that, I need to be in the main event. I need to be a world champion. I absolutely think he's ready for it. I think the fans are ready for it. I think it's something that needs to be done. That's why it's his resolution. Now, last but not least on the resolutions, I put this one in here. It's not for any wrestler or wrestling company. It's a personal resolution. That's why it didn't make the list. But my wrestling resolution for 2024, go to more shows. In 2023, I think I went to 3, maybe 4 different shows. And that's on me. There's all kind of opportunity. I live in Florida. NXT runs all over the place in Florida. AEW's down here often. WWE's down here often. TNA is running shows here. NWA runs shows here. There are so many shows I could go to, but I just don't. And there's no real reason for it. I have the money to do it. I have the means to do it. I mean, all of these things are less than 2 hours away from me. I could easily go to a Monday Night Raw anytime they're in Orlando or Tampa, or even Miami. Miami's just a little bit further from me. I could go to TNA tapings in Orlando when they do them there. I could go to AEW when they're in Jacksonville at Daly's place. I've been there. I could go, same with everything. NWA has a show coming up in Fort Lauderdale in a couple weeks. I could easily go to that. And that's not even including the other indie federations that are all through Florida. Wrestling companies like CCW or ALW, which aren't big companies, but shout out to them. They always have stars they bring in, whether it be stars of the past, current indie stars. I should be going to see some of these legends when they come in. ALW just had Eric Bischoff there. How cool would that be in an independent setting to meet Eric Bischoff? I need to hold myself more accountable. That is my wrestling resolution for the year. Hopefully, I get to go to at least 10 shows this year. And if you're watching this, John, which I know you will because you watch most of my videos, or if not all of them, be ready, my friend. Sean, you too, if you're watching this, be ready because I'm going to be asking you guys both to go to a lot more shows this year. So be ready to travel. Be ready to cheer. John, I know you go crazy every time we go. Sean, same thing. Get ready, let's go to these shows. Now, before I get to my number one, let's smash that like button, share the video, subscribe if you haven't. I normally ask you if you think I left something too high, too low, left something off the list, put it down in the comments. What I am going to ask you here is give me a resolution for 2024. It doesn't have to be for yourself. You can have a resolution for a wrestler. Maybe your resolution is for Sting. You say, Sting, don't retire. That's his resolution. You can make up whatever you want. Let me know a resolution down here in the comments. You can make it about yourself. If you want to buy more wrestling t-shirts, watch more wrestling on TV, watch less wrestling on TV, let me know down here in the comments. With all that being said, my number one resolution, this one is for Tony Khan. Tony Khan needs to say something, do something. And this is a very hot topic over the past few days with the incidents with Chris Jericho and NDAs and possibly Kylie Ray, which I hate even putting on video because she hasn't come out and officially said anything, but everybody is speculating that. Kylie Ray is an amazing wrestler. If you followed her career at all, you know that she's had some mental issues that she's had to deal with. And I really, really hope, and this is why I am actually bringing it up. I wasn't going to say her name at all. I really hope that all of this attention isn't affecting her negatively, because I really hope she's healthy. I really hope she's happy. She just had a baby, and I really hope she's living her best life, doing the best for her. Kylie Ray is someone I absolutely love watching wrestle. I love her gimmick. I love her ring work. Short sidebar, and I'll get back to the Tony Khan thing here in a moment. When AEW Wrestling first started, the very first t-shirt I bought was a Kylie Ray t-shirt. That was my first AEW shirt. Even though she was with the company only a few months, I was so happy to see that they were bringing her in, that was the first one. Before a Young Buck shirt, before a Kenny Omega shirt, before a Cody Rhodes shirt, I got a Kylie Ray shirt. But back to the resolution for Tony Khan and why I think this is so important. And it's not just this incident. Although, and I'm going to put the picture I have here is perfect for this. He was asked at the media scrum about the Jericho situation, and if you watch the media scrum, he did a really lighthearted interview with Toni Storm where she gave him that hat and glasses, and he did not take them off when he was asked some very serious questions. The allegations against Chris Jericho are not small. It's not that he has a speeding ticket. It's bad. If what is out there is seemingly true, it's career-ending. Now, why I bring this up is because Tony Khan basically PR spinned it and said, we have the best safety for our men and women here. Do you really, Tony? You just had people having a fight a couple months ago. We've heard of numerous backstage altercations. So that's questionable. He didn't really say anything. The second reason, and this is part of the whole thing, every time there's an incident, we keep hearing there's NDAs. The Punk incident, there's NDAs I can't talk about. That's how this was all brought up. This incident, there's rumored to be NDAs, which I'm saying rumored. No slander here. Everything is rumored at this point. And the easiest way to clear yourself, if you've done nothing wrong, if your company has fully investigated these things, come out and say, we've done an investigation. We found this person was in the wrong, they've been suspended, they've been fined, whatever it may be. This is what we're doing to stop this going forward. These are the actions we're taking. Tony Khan, no comments, a lot of things. And he's said stuff like when there was the MJF walkout where he said he's not going to talk about that. I don't think he's publicly said anything once about brawl in or brawl out. If you're going to have these media scrums, which I know they take a lot of flack too, because it's a lot of fluff people in there that aren't really asking the hard questions. And I know, I don't remember the person's name that brought this up here, which shout out to them for bringing the hard question that everybody wants to know up. You have to say something that's not a public spin. I've seen you on Dan Lebitard's podcast where they asked about CM Punk and you turned it into promoting a pay-per-view. I've seen you on Busted Open where you spun it and tried to make it more selling it. And I know you want to look at things positively. I feel the same way. I want to look at things positive. But you also need to be honest with your fans. Everything's not sunshine, lollipops, and roses. Sometimes you step in dog poop. I know. I just stepped in dog poop a couple days ago taking my trash out. I don't have a dog. None of my neighbors have a dog. There shouldn't have been dog poop in my yard, but there it was. It was dark. I didn't see it. Sometimes as a company, you step in dog poop. Give us the truth. When you're asked why the numbers are down, don't tell me you have a great relationship with Warner Brothers Discovery. Tell me, yes, we recognize our numbers aren't as good as they were. This is what we're doing to change that. We're implementing the Continental Classic, which by all means was a success. Hype your successes. Don't totally ignore your negatives. Talk about them, address them, and then maybe the speculation goes away. Do you know why Brawl In and Brawl Out are so big and such big topics? Because there's never been anything officially said. There have been a million fights in the locker room. Millions of them in wrestling. Do you know why fans don't talk about the majority of them? Because we know what happened. We know the company's stances on what happened. That's basically my opinion on that. And I know I went off on a soapbox and that took a lot of twists and turns. And I don't mean this in a very negative way. I like the AEW product. More often than not, I enjoy what I'm seeing. I am very honest. I think there are criticisms that are fair. I think at times the company doesn't put out as great of a product as they can with the roster that they have. But overall, I enjoy it, or I would stop watching it. Please, Tony, if no other resolution on here comes true, please, Tony Khan, make this come true. And I know you're probably never going to see this, but in the off chance that you see it or somebody tells you about this, please take this as a fan of wrestling that's been a fan of wrestling for over 40 years. Give us more transparency, take a stance, say something. With all that being said, if you made it here to the end, again, smash the like button, share the video, all that stuff all the YouTubers tell you. Again, leave me a resolution down in the comments. My name is George Coles, and this has been another Heel Heat Top 10.